Howdy, folks. Welcome back to Viva La Cats. I am your host, Justin Hiles. This is my great friend, Steve Maurer, and we are here to bring you Bearcats coverage every single week. And this week is extra special because we get to drink the Mountain Tears. We'll get to that in a second, but we'd like to shout out, of course, our network, 1012 Network, covering all things Big 12, premier network for all podcasts that we are a part of, and we provide coverage for every single team. So make sure to check that out, and also make sure to check out our sponsors, Charlie Hustle, which we will do some more in-depth coverage of later. Now that that's all out of the way, Steve, holy shit, brother! Let's go! Get the double whammy, dropped a 36-piece on West Virginia on Saturday, and then just let them blow a 16-point lead in the second half, and we turned it around. Oh my God. Oh my God. Eat those. Eat those right now. Eat those. Down it. Pound it. This is the time to break out the Skyline oyster crackers, baby. Hard to come by when you're not in Cincinnati, but Steve managed to get his hands on a pack there. So now that that's out of the way, God, it's happened. The first time this entire season, back-to-back wins in Big 12 play. The entire season. The first time. And it happens when it matters most. Bearcats coming back from down 16. All hope was lost. Everybody was ready to just throw away the season, have some hard conversations, and none other than Simas Lukosius and Day Thomas put the
How about them boys
Bearcats on their backs and carried them to victory. We'll get to those two specifically in a second, but round one of the Big 12 tourney, the Bearcats have won and they advanced to play Kansas. Steve, what do you take away from this game?
Well, for once, it was not the Bearcats melting down in the second half and losing a double-digit lead. Oh, look at what Justin's got. Justin's got Cincy Light. I got Skyline Crackers. We are the most Cincinnati podcast I could ever Cincinnati today, and I am so excited about it. Justin, you wanted to do some screaming. This would be a good time to do that right now. That is our victory screech, folks. Victory screech! I'm so excited, man. What a win. I mean, classic, conference tournament fashion. Both of us, I think, had meetings during like a point in the second half. And then, in classic Bearcats fashion, they somehow go into the half like down by 2. And then I come out of that meeting and they were down by 16. I was like, what the hell is going on here? And then as soon as that happens, West Virginia gets like 3 Ts and the Bearcats like cut the deficit immediately and tie the game. It was an absolutely like insane turn of events. It was just crazy. I mean, dude, well, like I think you've been, obviously you've probably wanted them to close out more games than they have this year. But to be down by that much and come back, Justin, fun stat for you. That was that is like the most points that a Wes Miller team has come back from in his tenure. Do you know the second most points he's come back from? I do.
Do you want it or can I take it?
Take it.
The other time that the Bearcats came from such a long deficit, 15 points against Illinois, the fateful Illinois game from so long ago, it seems now. Guess where that was played? Steve, please tell us where that game was played.
The T-Mobile Center, baby. Hey, Bearcat Matt, I know you were trying to do some good things there, get the tournament to different places, but maybe the Big 12 people were right. Maybe there's just something magic about the T-Mobile Center. So I hope that they can keep rolling the magic tomorrow.
Yeah, that was I think this game was honestly super, super special because, again, like, this is the funniest thing. Like, I tweeted this out. We've talked about this so many times, so many different weeks we talked about this, but it just continues to be the case, and it's so true for this team. This team does not die. It refuses, against all odds, to give up when there is literally no hope left to make the tournament. They refuse to die, and they keep themselves alive, and they play the farthest edge line possible, dancing on the edge of a cliff. And yet still they survive. I don't understand it. Like I said, this game absolutely should have gotten away from them and should have just been a blowout where we lost. but somehow, some way, they stitched it all together against all odds and made it happen. I mean, it is such a cool story for this season. I know, like, we've got, the game coming up against Kansas, which we'll get into a little bit later to preview. And I know that, there's been a lot of ups and downs to this season, but I think it's more of the same, but in a good way, in a positive light. For once,
Well, I'd
the
rather be.
basketball gods are shining down on us.
I agree. I tweeted that out, and I was like, please, like the amount of first round like horrors I have seen in conference tournaments as a Bearcats fan. Like, I mean, you remember like year one of the Big East, we had Gary McNamara, so I was just like, please God, don't let that happen today. And it didn't. So I was quite happy about that. I mean, it is very stereotypical Bearcats, especially for this season, for them to just come out and just lay an absolute egg for about 30 minutes against a team they're better than. But credit to them. They stepped up, and man, like I want to save it because I want to just like give all the flowers in a little bit. We'll get to it. But Justin, the other thing though is that I think if you think about this season and how many times we came close, obviously it sucked that we lost that many games when we were like close. But just imagine if we had been like, coming back from 15-point deficits this whole time instead of leading by 15,
Right.
like how much like the psyche would have changed a little bit. Like instead of saying, oh, they're so close, but they should be winning, it would be like, oh, they're so close and they just need like one more thing to get over the hump. And
That's true.
I think if, next year they can definitely like build on this experience and keep going from that. But, I think people sometimes need just a little bit of a reason to buy back in. And today's a reason to buy back in. I mean, we saw our friends at the Cincy Slang and post a tweet like when we were down by 16 is like, guys never had the answers. He's never had the answers all season. And then he responded, yeah, with the answer. I mean, yeah, it was just crazy just how it turned today.
Yeah, I think the thing that, like, again, we'll tap into this here in just a few seconds, but I think the craziest thing for me is how many times this team has faced adversity like this and crumbled. Like, it's just they've just not been able to put it together at the end. And we've seen some like electric moments, but this is where I think I come back to, and I'm gonna give them all the light, give them all the flowers, give them all the praise. Day Thomas, Seamus Lukosius. Insane. Absolutely bonkers. Like, off the charts type of performance in the second half, something that we have almost never seen in a Bearcats uniform in quite some time, where they just absolutely light it up, backs against the wall, make it or break it. Like, this was the time to do it, and they figured it out. And I think it's awesome because you've seen this earlier in the season when we played TCU. Day made some clutch shots. When we played Texas, unfortunately, we lost. Seamus made some clutch shots at the end of that game. And then there's so many more that you can kind of go back
the
to
Texas
and look
Tech
at.
game, Seamus
Look
made
at the
that clutch
Texas
shot
Tech.
right at the
Look
end.
at, even the UCF game down the stretch. We're getting some clutch shots there too. And then, I think it just comes back to the same core of these two guys. We asked all season long, who's going to be the guy? Who's going to be the guy? Who's going to step up, and who's going to take these shots, and who's going to make them? And I think this is where I come back to the point that you made about, so many of these games, how it changes the psyche. This has been the difference. Like, this quite literally has been the difference. This game, where you look at the way that these two perform down the stretch, it's not going to happen every night. That was a hot shooting second half. They just both got hot. They were shooting on fire. But here's the thing that's really interesting. Both of these guys, we've been waiting for to hit that like takeover moment. And all season long, those like one or two, we made extra. But those one or two shots have been the difference between winning and losing. And a lot of times we've missed those shots down the stretch. We have not been able to find those shots down the stretch. And you look at this game, we made so many more than you would have thought or hoped for. And guess what? It still was barely enough. And that's the thing. I think that's the big difference in between this game and so many others, is you just have to look at how they executed down the stretch. And again, all credit to Day Thomas and Seamus Lukosius. Insane. 7 threes from each of them. So that's 14 combined threes. There were 16 total made threes for the Bearcats, I believe, on 37 shots, if I remember correctly. you had a Dan Skillings 3 and a John Newman 3. Those were the only 2 threes from the entire rest of the team that accounted for. But down the stretch, Day Thomas nailed, I think, 3 back-to-back-to-back threes to finish out this game, which is just nuts, man.
Yeah.
Like, that is the hot stretch that we've been waiting for. We knew that somebody could do it. And I remember Davenport last year or the year before hit 7 threes in a game. It was 2.
8.
Hit 8. And it was just absolutely insane. And now you got 2 guys, nearing that kind of record in the same game is wild. Absolutely wild.
Justin, I'm reminding myself to clip this, but just again, imagining a full year of non-Jefferson Road CMOS Daykosius, man. A full year.
Cheated.
God, I mean, like, and this is the other thing too about like, building your team from the transfer portal. Like, sometimes it takes like a good 25, 30 games for these guys to really gel and get comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And not that I want more games in the season. I think like they do play a lot of games already, especially at the college level. But man, like, I just imagine like if we had been able to have our full team in there for non-conference play rather than just, different starting lineups here, there, everywhere, just how much better they would have been. And, if you had CMOS like fully healthy for some of those losses that you took, where it was by a couple points, just imagining him putting in a couple more. And I'm not blaming him. It's not his fault at all. It's completely like just a fluke coincidence. And again, I want to make the joke, but I told Kenny Freeze that we won't make the joke. But you know what joke I want
make
to
the joke. Just do it.
Man, that Dayton fan driving down Jefferson Road, like really just anyway. I do think it was. I just wanted to know what this season would have been like with a full season of him. And Day, like I give all credit to him because I mean we haven't shied away from our podcasts and from our spaces, and I'm sure unfortunately he's probably seen fans talking about it on the internet about how much better Jizzle is than him. And like I think he needed this too, probably just for himself. Like obviously he's never felt the lack of confidence. He's always been felt good to shoot. But I mean, to see all those shots go down and go in for him, like you can't help but feel good about yourself after that. And especially when, people have been saying like, oh, you're not good enough and a freshman should start over you. Like I was really happy for him. And another thing, Justin, it took literally those 2 things to happen and West Virginia to get 3 technicals in the second half just for Cincinnati to win their first back-to-back games of the Big 12 season. Like it took literally all of that just for that to happen. So, I mean, it literally took a Herculean effort. Just insane. But
yeah,
again, shout out to those guys. Like it was just a lot of fun just seeing what they were doing down the stretch there. And Justin, I want to hear from you. Like, does this go up there within like some of like the great performances of Bearcat basketball history? Like, I know, we might not have had like a lot of single game great performances lately, but I definitely think it has to. Like, this is a game you'll talk about.
No, this is a game that we'll talk about for a long time. And I think, like I said before, I think it kind of comes back to the story that you're talking about of how this entire season went and what you can take away from it. Your first ever Big 12 tournament game, you got to go in and you got to make a mark. And I think, like I said, this just goes back to what this entire season has been about. It's about not giving up and it's about not dying. It's about just finding a way to stay alive.
Fight to the finish, never give in.
Fight to the finish, never give in. Ha, 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 ha. Staying alive, staying alive. Yeah, that tune, that should be the song. I know Ski.
I was thinking of the fight song of our university that we love, but Justin, but that's fine too.
There's a lot of songs that could culminate all of the different things that have happened this season. But ultimately, I think that this just goes down, like you said, this goes down as one of the most electric like comeback performances that the Bearcats have ever played. Like when it comes to like just straight up finishes, it's so nice to see that we can actually like take care of it at the end of the game. And we did just enough. And here's the thing too, this will get lost on a lot of people, I think, because just the end of the game. They'll look at the game that we played before. When this comes back, later on down the line when we talk about this game, we'll be like, oh yeah, remember that first round win? We had a big comeback, whatever. West Virginia did not other than those, obviously technicals that happened, they did not just fall apart at the seams.
No.
They were still hitting threes, they were still making shots. We just happened to do it really fast to try to play catch up. And then
Yep.
you had the back and forth for those last few minutes. And then once they found their footing, they hit the gas pedal and they took it up and they stayed there. And that's what we've said for so long is, it's this game of runs. There's so many different times where West Virginia had the edge on Cincinnati in this game and had that momentum. And finally, they just figured out how to crack it open. And when it mattered most, hit the shots. And like I said, I mean, I cannot possibly give more credit to Day Thomas than anything else. Seamus made so many in that stretch to get us back, but the finishing at the end from Day was just insane. And let me go through this real quick. So at the 3:43 mark, Kobe Johnson makes a jumper. It's 82-77. Bearcats down. Day makes a three, 82-80 at the 3:28. At the 2:57, Day makes another three. Now it's 83-82. You have a little bit of back and forth. You got a layup. You got a free throw from the Bearcats. Eventually it gets to 87-84. You're just trying to figure out how to clutch this one out. Jesse Edwards makes a free throw. Now you got a 2-point game, 1-possession game with 45 seconds left. And who other than Day Thomas to go back in, find that same shot in that far corner that he made against TCU, that he's done so many other times, and take that shot and bury the dagger 90-85 with 15 seconds left. I mean, it's just poetic. It's so, so cool to see them actually take this full encapsulated game where everything was going wrong and figure it out. And that, I think, I'm going to put this out as my open petition request, begging. I don't know what you want me to say. NCAA committee. We still have to win a game or two. I understand. You got to win. You got to beat Kansas. You got to beat Baylor, probably. But you got to at least beat Kansas. But I just want you all to think about this. Even if the Bearcats were to beat Kansas and lose to Baylor, this team has gone to the absolute end of the world to get every single game a 1-2 possession game. I don't care what it is, at the end of every single game they've played. This is just the way that they play. In March, that's all anybody cares about. They don't care about, they love the upsets. They love those. Nobody loves watching a blowout in March. Everybody wants to see a competitive game. I don't care what team you put this team against. The Cincinnati Bearcats will make it a 1-possession game at the end of the game if they don't win. It's just, this is an electric team that figures out how to just make it a close game no matter who they've played, no matter how good they are. They've figured it out. This is my petition. Just put them in. If they're on the bubble, if they're on the edge, I don't care. Just throw them in there. I know I'm biased, but just do it, please. This team deserves it. As many things as they've struggled with this season, as many people will say that they don't deserve it, even Bearcats fans might say they don't deserve it, they deserve it. That's my piece.
Well, if you think about this too, they've had last year, in previous years, it's been really hard to leave out any team that has finished in the top 40 of either the net or the KenPom. And the Bearcats are right on that line. They're in 41 on the KenPom, 42 on net, or flip-flop that. It's not impossible to think that, if a couple other teams above them lose, they could raise up a little bit. And then if they beat Kansas, they have one more quality win, get to 20 wins playing in the Big 12. I understand. We all know about thank you, Jeff Capel, for telling us about how much our conference schedule stinks. A non-conference schedule stinks, but I was talking about this with Donnie earlier. It's not impossible. It is just our name is not on bracket matrix at all. It would be a legitimate stunner on Sunday if they were last four in Cincinnati, you're in. And I was like, what?
Right.
Do you know that meme, Justin, where it's where it's Little Sasquatch from Barstool, and it's
Oh,
like,
wait.
with the first pick of the NFL
Yeah.
draft, the Cowboys select Little Sasquatch. Me?
What?
Like I want to put the
Oh,
Bearcat on that meme if like we get selected on Selection Sunday, and poor Larry Nerd of Indiana State is going to be left out just because the Bearcats played like 20 games in the Big 12.
yeah. Dude, I don't know. I think that this team, like I said, I think they really have it, and I think there's a legit shot that they can do it. But like we've said all season long, and we will continue to say, as this team decides to never die, it's all in their hands. It is in nobody's else hands except for their own. They control their own destiny 100% of the way. We'll talk about a little bit more of that real quick. We're going to cover the other half. Like Steve had said off air. Steve, what did you say about this West Virginia matchup this entire season?
Well, oh, sorry. Yeah, we won the season series on aggregate as
There
well.
you go.
So, and you know how we did that, Justin? We gave him the old beat him down on Saturday. The beat him down.
We gave them the 36-piece McNugget. Get blasted, my guy. I don't even know what else to say. Like, if there was any time that like you needed that confidence booster, it was on senior day. I know that we all talked about it because we were worried going into this game that like the Bearcats might find a way to just kind of slip up. They might find a way to just like, it's a take care of business game. We absolutely did say that. But I think they cracked this open to one of their biggest wins on the entire season. I'd have to go back and look at all of the scores, but I think this was one of the largest wins. Dropping 36 on any Big 12 team, I don't care who they are. I don't care if they absolutely give up on the floor, which it did look like West Virginia did in the second half. But like they put the gas pedal down and absolutely throttled West Virginia on Saturday, which definitely made us feel better going into this game. But you also knew that just like any other game, for them, they didn't have anything else. They had literally nothing else to play for other than winning the Big 12 tournament because that's the only shot that they have at playing any basketball at the end of the season. Like the CBI is not going to happen. The NIT is not going to happen for them. They're like 9-21 or something like that. Like they just lost a crap ton of games. Nothing was going to happen for them. So they had to figure it out in tonight's game. Obviously, didn't work. But this game, 92-56, just completely destroyed them. And when they cracked it open, the void just kept going. Bearcats shot 59% with 30% from three, only 9 turnovers, but dominated the boards 37-23, which I think was a huge aspect of this game. And overall, like I think the really nice part was to see again that we had some good contributions from everybody. You had a solid game from Newman on senior day. Odie, of course, got some minutes. Didn't really put a ton on the stat board, but you got some solid minutes from Newman. You got a shot from Landon Long at the end of the game, which is awesome to just see him hit a 3 on senior day and just get that one out of the way, which is great. 100% on his career. Can't beat that. Overall, very positive note to end the season on at home in Fifth Third, and great for the seniors to have that one final moment to just, really say goodbye and, just have that for themselves. Steve, what other thoughts do you have on this one?
You hit it on the head. Like just amazing atmosphere. It was just a lot of fun to see them, kind of maintain that lead, like I said, and just like we've had problems maintaining leads all season, and they were able to just really come out and just step on the neck and let West Virginia really have it in that final game. And you know what? It was also fun too, just because they had they're playing country roads. They showed Bob Huggins on the big screen, and you tweeted it, and you were right. It's like if there's a way to rekindle this rivalry, that's the way to do it, right?
That's
there.
a good way to piss him off. He was wearing red too. Let's not forget that. He was wearing Bearcats red.
Yeah,
With Bob
and
Huggins
with his own logo on it too, which is just crazy. But
have we ever seen that before? Is this a first time? Because I've never seen that, and I was wondering if he just like cracked this one out for the Bearcats game or what.
I haven't been really paying much attention, but I would not be surprised if he cracked that one out for the Bearcats game. So
Gotcha.
but yeah, like it just just like a game where you just had a lot of fun watching it. And I
Yeah.
tweeted it after game. I was like, most fun Bearcats win since. And a lot of people said the Georgia Tech game, which I agreed with. But man, it's just a lot of fun to watch your team win by 50.
Yeah.
It wasn't 50, but it felt like it. Like, yeah,
Might
and
as
getting the
well have been.
walk-ons in there. I saw Sage Tolentino play. Which is like Bigfoot sighting.
Yeah,
If
for
you
real. At this
like,
point in the season, it's definitely a Bigfoot sighting.
yeah, CJ Anthony proving that he can still play in the Big 12. Like
Yeah.
West Virginia was getting their football safety in there. Like there was just the last few minutes was interesting, but um, like whatever it is, man, about something about Senior Day, other than that Houston one, like most of the time on Senior Day, we usually just take care of business.
We're not going to talk about South Florida here.
Oh yeah, I'm dumb. I forgot.
We're
about
not going to
that.
talk about that one. We're just going to leave that one in the
Yep.
past where it belongs. I will say, I think one of the things that I found really interesting through this, and I think this will continue to be an off-season topic, a very soon, like first thing out the gates of off-season topic that we'll cover more. Against West Virginia, both games here back to back, no Victor Locken. Is it a health thing at this point? Is it something else? I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think, it did seem like he was probably injured, but again, he's been off and on, off and on. I'm really curious what happens there going on from this season
Yeah.
because, obviously you're going to part with Odie, you're going to part with John Newman, you're going to part with some of your walk-ons. But this is a thing that we're just going to knock on wood, and we're going to leave it there. Sorry for anybody who just got the springs of death in their ears from my mic.
I shook
Stand.
crackers in their ears earlier.
Yeah.
I think they're fine. They would have turned off the podcast.
I victory
long ago.
screeched in their ears
Yes,
too. So
yes,
you guys
that's
just
it.
get a loud one today. Sorry.
You better enjoy it though.
enjoy the enthusiasm. Like
Enjoy the
full
first Big
enthusiasm.
12 conference tournament win. Damn it!
Yes, of course. Enjoy.
I haven't had much else to celebrate this academic year.
I think we'll cover this more as we get to the end of the season, whenever that happens. Hopefully, not for like another 10 games, 11
Exactly.
games.
The Bearcats are going to come to me here in Phoenix and play in the Final Four at the Cardinals Stadium. So that's going to happen.
We'll get to this point, but transfer portal is going to be a very interesting point. And as everybody always says, there's always one that you don't expect that's going to ruin your day. We're not going to let that ruin our day because we have some awesome information for you. That's right. Our fantastic friends at Charlie Hustle got it through. They got it made. We talked about this last week. We had one shirt. Guess what? Now we got 3. The Bearcats have that gear. They got 3 shirts for you to rep at the Big 12 tournament. If you're there currently, head over to the Power Light District. They got the Big 12 sales shop set up. Go check them out. Go physically visit them and buy some merch. Tell them that Viva La Cat sent you. Your good friends over here.
That's right.
But if you're not doing that, go over to www.charliehustle.com and find the /Cincinnati College Collection, where you can find these 3 shirts. Steve, what's the first one here?
Bring the Ruckus, our favorite 9-member band, was famous for this. Bring the Ruckus, we love it.
There you go. All right, what's number 2?
Cincinnati Bearcats with a picture of Day Thomas and Seamus Daykosius doing what they did 14 times today, and that is putting the ball into the net, baby.
There's going to be somebody who hears this on audio and they're going to be like, "Oh, there's a Day and Seamus shirt
already."
It's a little less specific than that, but it's still a fantastic shirt. I also love the Cincinnati font here. Kind of gives me NBA Jam vibes.
Kind of also gives me 90s Reds vibes too a little bit.
Oh yeah. Ooh, that's a good one.
And then this third one, I love this one. This is the Cincinnati Bearcats 1992 finalist shirt with another beautiful picture of a ball going through the net, but classic design with the brand new Seapaw. So if you still want to remember those glory days but want to wear the current logo, this is your opportunity, baby.
And guess what? We don't just show one. We don't just show 2 or 3. We show all of them together. So here's your nice little mishmash. You can see all of it. head over again to www.charliehustle.com and use the promo code 101215 for 15% off of all non-sale items. That will be good for as long as you want to use it. And let's also throw this up as a little bit of a news flash. They do at the same time have their Big 12 sale going on. I'm going to try to remember the exact name. Big 12 Days of Hustle. Don't let me forget that. There's 7 days, 12 days, but there's day 7 right now is where we're at, where you can get up to 65% or 60% off of fan favorites. So check out that Bracket Buster sale. And again, head over to the site, check them out. Thank you again, Charlie Hustle, for sponsoring the show.
I saw they have a
merch
Big 12
coming.
jacket on sale too, which looks
Yes.
crispy.
Planning on getting that.
If you want to be Rob Lowe, Big 12 fan, you got to get that jacket.
Well, so the varsity jacket is awesome, but then they also have the hoodie and they've got the t-shirt, bigger than 12. So really excited. Definitely want to get that. Steve and I are going to have some merch here soon. So we'll have it for maybe next week's show. We'll see. We'll see how fast the crow flies. But with all of that said, Steve, tell us about what's happening tomorrow.
Well, you did mention Charlie Hustle and you did mention Kansas, and there is a certain team that plays in Kansas and will be visiting Kansas City this week, and they are called the Kansas Jayhawks. Now, obviously Cincinnati had their hot start today, and they're going to be playing tomorrow. They will not be fresh; they will just get some time, but it is kind of nice. They have the latest game of the night, the last game of the night, so they'll get the full night and day to really recover. And be fresh as they take on Kansas, who will be without Hunter Dickinson and KJ McCullough for the entire tournament. Bold of them to say the entire tournament because they're just going to take that L tomorrow night, but it is still a big loss for them. Justin, like I was talking about this earlier with Donnie, but and by the way, folks, if you're interested, Donnie will be on our next show to recap the season and hopefully talk about the Bearcats in the NCAA tournament. But
well, hold on. Let me say this real quick. We all agreed between me, Steve, and Donnie here that this was going to be a eulogy show next week. I don't think there's going to be any eulogy to talk about.
Well,
they're doing the thing. I don't give a shit about the rest of the season.
We're going to be recording
doing the thing now.
I said we would be recording like just as the show's going on. So, I mean, like just live reaction, like we do the actual meme, like us, is that us? Like, so I'm excited about that.
Scream and yell when the Bearcats beat West Virginia, Kansas, and Baylor. And then they snub them. They snub them. They lose in the semifinals after beating 2 ranked teams in a row. And quite honestly, a Kansas home game. Let's be honest. That's a Kansas home game. Kansas City to Lawrence, not the, closest drive, but also not the longest drive. This is a home game for the Jayhawks. So if they don't show up, they don't show up.
Yep, for sure. And I am interested, though, in seeing what it's like without those two. I do think that Johnny Furphy is going to be a big problem for us. I wanted to check his game log, Justin, because after he went off against us, I really hadn't heard much from him. So I'm going to check him out real quick. But what do you think about this take, Justin, that Kansas without Dickinson and McCullough is basically just on UC's level?
It sounds like a really hot take. But let's just look at this, okay? For reference, Kansas just played Houston on the road. This is their last game before they get to play in the Big 12 tourney. They get to play the Bearcats in the Big 12 tourney. Kansas lost 76-46. Houston cracked this thing open to 30. And let me just tell you, too, this game was never close. Like, okay, at the 10-minute mark in the first half, this was a 22-7 game. Houston up, of course. Kansas, I don't know if they ever had a lead in this game. I'd have to go, I'll look a little bit more in depth, but I don't think that they ever had a lead in this entire game. 0. No, they had no lead. Houston cracked this open to 32 at its largest. They are tired at the end of this season. And I just think that we have to really seriously consider how important the fact that they had McCullough, they had Dickinson in this game. Like, These are your 2-star players. You have them in there. McCullough had a 0, Fattle 0 for points on the board. Dickinson had 11. They came up short, couldn't do anything with them. Houston is a fantastic team. They are far better than Cincinnati. They are far better than just about any other team in the entire NCAA. But you would think Kansas could at least compete at the end of the season when they're trying to vie for a higher seed, and they just fell flat.
Mhm.
And I really think that if you take these two guys out of the team that are major factors for them the entire season, it's going to be rough sledding in this game against the Bearcats. Like, I honestly, I'm going to check this right now. I don't know if the Bearcats are favored. I would highly doubt it. Highly doubt it.
They are. Point and a half.
There you go. 1.5. This is, like I said, a home game for Kansas too. You're missing some stars. That's just easy bait for Vegas. Whatever. We'll take it. It's fine. I really think that this is going to be a tough game for Kansas. And there's no reason for them to try in this game, quite honestly. They have the tournament locked up. You rest your good players. Don't gas anybody else. Don't risk an injury to a guy like Furphy by trying to play hard to beat the Cincinnati Bearcats. Open your door in Kansas City, let the Bearcats walk through and nicely close it behind them and let them move on as you sit down and get to watch the rest of the tournament. Don't do something stupid, because I think Kansas is good enough that they could do something in the tournament. Let the Bearcats just walk through, please. For God's sakes, let us have this.
So I looked up Furphy's game logs just because I was curious, and he had the 23 against us, went 3 for 4 from 3 in that game. But since then, his highest point total has been 17 in the first Houston game. This past weekend, he had 9. So I do think that there is a possibility he could go off again. He likes shooting against us. It's going to be a home game, like you said. But I'm kind of obviously I agree with you. I want that to happen, but just looking at their overall like last 5 games, they've lost 3 of their last 5, Justin. And like, no, I'm sorry, they've lost 3 of their last 4. And like the only win being against K-State in a game that K-State was never really in. But
and that's K-State of all teams too.
Yeah, like Kansas has flat out just not looked very good in some of these games. Like they lost by 29 at Texas Tech, lost at home to BYU, which is something they rarely ever do, losing at home, lost to Baylor. Like they just have not looked like Kansas this year. And like all due respect to Bill Self in Kansas, like obviously like top tier program, like we want to be you. But I do think like this is why I thought that the Bearcats had a great draw in the tournament, is like, as long as you could get past West Virginia, you're in the game against them. And like I think we've talked about, Kansas has only played like their 4 starters all year, and they only brought in Furphy like halfway through the year into the starting rotation. They have not really trusted their bench that much this year, and it'll be interesting to see what they can do. And what West Virginia did today, Justin, was that they really loaded the paint and forced the Bearcats to shoot 37 threes, like you said. And if they hadn't gotten hot in the second half, like the game plan was working for them. Like, West Virginia obviously could not miss themselves, but they were the plan was working, and they have more size, right? West Virginia does right now than Kansas does without Dickinson and McCullough. Like there's an opportunity for UC to really clean up in the paint. And if you need to really supplant that with some threes, and because obviously I would like to see us hit 14 threes by 2 players every game. It's not that realistic though. But I think if you can get Aziz involved early, you get Jamil involved early, get Dan. Like Dan did really well against them the first time. So like I would love to see what Dan can do. I think if you keep a couple guys out of foul trouble, really force the pressure on the remaining starters for Kansas, I'd be really interested to see how this game breaks.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be the biggest thing for this entire game for me. Like you said, you've lost your 2 stars. I think if you have your 2 stars in here, this game is still in the Bearcats' favor. That's going to sound like a bold thing. Kansas averages 35.7 rebounds a game to the Bearcats, whom average 39.7. So you have an advantage there. Here's the other interesting advantage now that you take out these 2 guys. Who's their leading rebounder? Dickinson. Guess how many rebounds he averages a game? 10.8. You have no other rebounder who's averaging more than 6 rebounds a game across the entire team. He is their paint. He is their rebounder, their board getter. He is the paint protection. If you lose that, you have other guys who are very capable. It's not like Kansas doesn't have any talent there, but you lose your key piece and you're trying to save for the tournament. This is going to sound bold, just like other things that I've just said that I think will sound bold. Steve, is this a must-win game?
I gave up on the must-win games a while back just because
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
of
That
how
one's just to string some people along.
we failed the must-win game test earlier in this year. But hold on. We can clip this. We clip out what I just said. Get back to where you just were, Justin, right by the mic there. It is a must-win game because it's tournament time, baby. You got to win every game you can to get in the tournament.
This is true. I mean, I legitimately think, though, you're playing a depleted Kansas. Granted, it's in Kansas City, but you're playing a depleted team without their best rebounder, and your advantage the entire season has been rebounding. You have also just now shown Kansas that you are a legitimate threat from the three-point line, and you have shooters who can shoot that. You now have the advantage of giving them that to worry about, and they have to worry about the paint. If you can do one or the other or both, you should take care of this game. Like, this is not, I don't want to put that pressure of saying this is like a take care of business game, because it absolutely is not. Kansas is very talented
You're right.
without their 2-star players. But what I'm getting at is that you have a lot of things in your favor for this game. And if you don't make this a competitive game, I'm talking like every other game we've seen this entire season, down to the wire. If Kansas finds a way to crack this open on you, that's a problem. I think that's a legitimate problem.
Yeah, and to respond to that as well, like, you cannot have the same defensive effort you had for the first 30 minutes in the West Virginia game, because without those 2 stars or not, Kansas will still be Kansas all over you if you cannot really defend and commit to defense. Because, like, even Chad was saying it earlier, they're not going to stay in KC if they continue playing defense like this. Like, just an absolutely, like, just crazy, like, way to end the game. That happened for us, and I'm glad that we won, obviously. But, like, I just think about, like, that Terry Nelson quote, obviously, like, don't accept what you won in a win that you won in a loss,
Right.
And, like, I think they really have to step it up, and they understand they'll be up for the challenge. Like, I think they will, obviously, but you got to really just hope that they can understand the importance and really just say, okay, yeah, we got through yesterday. Let's really try and just put our A game together today, because we've seen when they put their A game together, they can be really good.
Yeah. And again, it's the same story we've said all season. If something doesn't work for you, figure out how to make something else work. They did it today against West Virginia. The paint wasn't working for them. The 3-ball was absolutely not working for them at the beginning of the game, but they adjusted. They figured out how to settle in. They got comfortable, and then they started making a run. I think that's all you need at this point in the year. You need a little bit more luck, not the thing that the Bearcats have been very fond of this year, but you need a little bit of luck, and you need a whole lot of effort at this point in the year. I think a lot of teams are going to be gassed. I think a lot of teams are going to be looking for the big dance, and they're not going to be as concerned about the Big 12 tournament. Go and make a run. Go and do something. I think there's a legit shot. And so we're going to take a quick second to talk about just the overall outlook past this. And I think this is a good time too, because I just wanted to talk about this for our actual brackets, because we threw these up today, and we got a little bit of feedback from y'all, because I was curious as to how people thought we picked. But overall, some of the big storylines from mine in the semifinals, it's expected. It's your 1 through your 4 seeds. And I think you end up, in my mind, with Houston and Baylor, and Houston wins the whole thing. Steve, just about the opposite as you can get, having BYU making a big run, having K-State running to the semifinals to play Cincinnati, and the Bearcats in Houston, as we've talked about over the weekend, which I'm going to plug this as well. We talked about this, and I think this is the most interesting stat. So you're going to get a very fast tangent. Steve, what has been the common denominator in the last 6 tournaments for the Bearcats? Technically 5. 6 years.
They've had to play Houston every single year, and that will not change this year.
Yes.
That will not change. No.
They are on opposite sides of the bracket, which works out very well in their favor because the Bearcats stop for no one except for Houston, which I still don't like. But the Bearcats over the past 6 seasons have just constantly run into them. Of course, in 18 and 19, they beat Houston for the American Championship. 2020, it was canceled due to COVID. 21, you lose in the AAC Championship final on a great run from the Bearcats by that point, too, after a little bit of a tough year. 22, you lose to Houston in the quarterfinal. 23, you lose in the semifinal. Bearcats, I think you're due up to beat Houston in the final of a conference tournament again. And I think it's this year.
I was there the last time they did it. Maybe I'll go again. You never know. Just fly in.
Dude, I mean, hey, if we make that final game, there is no chance that I'm not flying in. Like I will take off the time. I will get there.
All right.
I will be there on site. It is on site. You will see
Tell Brett Yormark it's on
at least
site.
one half, if not two, of us there at that game. I think that this is just one of those things that you have to really you have to appreciate that we've had such a good relationship with Houston over the past few years. It's been very bad for the Bearcats, but you have to appreciate the fact that we're on opposite sides of the bracket for the first time in the Big 12 tournament. I'll take it, because if it's anything like the rest, mark it down, baby. Bearcats, Cougars, final. Yeah. But unfortunately, Steve also picked the Cougars to win, which means that if you took them all the way to the final, I don't know why you did that.
I don't know. It's just like my Houston experience has really just like changed me a little bit, So
Steve wanted the pot. He wanted the money at the end, which is fair. And that's exactly why I picked Houston to win the whole thing.
Well, here's the other thing too, is that I do think that while you mentioned that like some of the Big 12 teams might be sitting guys, like I kind of just saw the same thing that I saw with West Virginia and Cincinnati. Like obviously, K-State just played Iowa State and just beat them at home. And even though Iowa State will have a lot of fans there, K-State will as well. And it's not impossible for me to see K-State winning that matchup again. And then, BYU, I think they've gotten a lot better as the season's gone on. So I think they have at least a good shot to really make some hay here in this tournament. And also, I kind of just like when chaos happens. So I kind of just Justin, like the semifinal has 3 of the newcomers. My semifinal has three of the 4 teams as the newcomers, and then the 2 final teams as the newcomers as well. So imagine just like what that would look like. But and I also held serve with our Big 12 brethren, Texas and Oklahoma. You're not even making it past your first game. Don't stay long. You can just go on now. We don't need you anymore.
I think we certainly hope. I honestly hope that both of them lose their first game. Like I think of all things that I would hope for in this tournament, it's the Bearcats to just win the whole damn thing, and for the SEC schools to lose bad in their first games against the teams that are sticking around. That's all you can hope for, honestly.
For sure.
But again, I think the last thing that we're going to cover here before we move on to the good old burrito wrap of the Bearcats Sports Wrap Up, Bearcats path. It looks approachable. It's not a given, but it is approachable. They've already beat West Virginia. You got to beat Kansas tomorrow. And then after that, you have Baylor, and you either have Texas, K-State, or Iowa State. And I think realistically out of that, you're probably going to face Iowa State in my mind. I think that's the most realistic. But like you said, anything can happen at this point in the year. Iowa State probably will be saving a little bit too. Not going to just say that all these teams in the tournament that are making the big dance are just going to be like, yeah, walk all over me. They're definitely going to play hard, but I think there is going to be a little bit of strategy to be smart. Because I think all these teams think that they can contend and really make a run. And so I think there's a legitimate shot that if you can get past Kansas, Baylor, you gave them a run for their money already. They've shown some weakness, and they've shown some ability to, fall apart in some big games. Iowa State, that was a tough one. I don't think you've let up 25 turnovers to the same team if you end up with them, and then you're in the final with Houston. I don't. If anybody but Houston makes the final on the top side of the bracket, I will be flabbergasted. I will be absolutely floored. Houston could play at 50% and still beat pretty much every team on that side of the bracket. I'm convinced.
Well, I mean, I just want to see Houston, like, even if they have to like put it in second gear for this week, I really want to see them just win the whole thing. So, like, do what you got to do this week, like stay healthy and whatever. But I mean, and I don't think they will, unfortunately, just because they've lost 3 guys this year to season-ending injuries. But like, I would really like to see them like just go ahead and do the damn thing. I know they've been number one a few years now, like in parts of a few consecutive years. But like, I would really just, I mean, I would hate it for myself just because I love how Houston plays, but like, I would want that for them, right? So, and if that means you have to lay an egg against Cincinnati and avoid some injuries and let us walk to the Big 12 championship, do a little bid stealing along the way, I'd be all good for that. Let the Big 12 get 10 teams in, Like
Yep.
I really want that to happen for us. And I'm manifesting, right, Justin? I'm manifesting that the big collusion comes together near the end of the week, and all these teams just say, "Hello, Cincinnati. We would like an extra unit from the tournament. Please take this win and get in the tournament for us." So,
God, could you imagine that? They would. If there was actual collusion, they throw games to get the 10th team in the tournament. Oh boy.
Well, that was always a joke on the old Skinny podcast with Broering and Brendel, where they would just be like, all this big collusion's coming together at the right exact time for X League. So like all the top teams in the league would start losing to like the bubble teams, and they would always joke that like, oh yeah, they're all coming together at the right time. So I don't think that will happen, obviously, because again, this is the Big 12, but with the amount of collusion that other leagues have claimed has been going on this year in the Big 12, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I'm just
give them some credit. Like, just tell them, yeah, you know what? You're right. We want to get more teams in the tournament. Cincinnati, get in there, baby.
Collude.
Get on in there. Get on in there.
Canceled. We choose Cincinnati as our as our tournament champion.
That would be great. All right, Steve, round us out with our favorite weekly segment, the Bearcats Sports Wrap Up.
The Toledo of Cincinnati Bearcats podcast. It is the Bearcat Sports Wrap Up, brought to you once again by the 1012 Network, by Charlie Hustle, by our great partners here. If you'd like to come on the ride with us for March Madness, because we are going, our DMs are open, by the way. Anyway, let's start with the Cincinnati Sports Toledo. With women's basketball, they finished their season with a win over UCF in the Big 12 tournament before falling to West Virginia last Friday. Great first season in the Big 12 for Katrina Merriweather. Got a great recruiting class coming in, so it's only the start, and I believe that things will go up for the women's basketball Bearcats this year. The baseball team, they dropped through 2 or 3 this past weekend at K-State. Let's not talk about what happened on Friday night or Sunday afternoon. They are hosting Western Illinois this week before they host a weekend series against Kansas. And this is a live check-in on the Western Illinois score. And they are losing in they're headed to the bottom of the 9th right now. So I guess we'll see.
Losing by how much?
1 run. So, but we're losing to Western Illinois, which I wouldn't think is great. That's just
beat
me.
The state school, you beat the smaller school. Come on, get it together, guys.
That's true. Tennis, they unfortunately dropped both matches to Oklahoma and Texas this past weekend. They are visiting Dayton on Wednesday, and they will go to Country Roads of Morgantown this weekend. Maybe they'll show them what it's like in tennis too, like we did in basketball.
Oh, yeah.
Lacrosse unfortunately dropped a great game against Louisville last Wednesday, but Justin, guess the scoreline of the Xavier game from this past Sunday. Just guess the scoreline. It's
90-0.
Close, 20-1. So they went to Xavier, came in their trap, took over their trap, beat that ass this week.
Norwood State. That's right. You heard it here.
That's right.
Stay on your side of the county lines, baby.
Evanston Community College. They are visiting Wofford and Old Dominion this weekend, so definitely try to track down those games if you can. Track and field, outdoor season starts this weekend as the squad visits UCF for the Black and Gold Invitational. I do want to give a shout out to track and field freshman Juliet Laraquent Hebner, I just botched that for sure. But she earned second team All-America honors after placing 12th overall in the women's pentathlon at the NCAA Indoor Track and Field Championships last weekend. So shout out to her. That's awesome. Let me try it again. Julia Laracuente Huebner. So I think I botched that again. But if you want to come on the show and let us know what your name is, we would be more than happy to have you.
JLH.
Yes.
There you go.
The swimming program, University of Cincinnati women's swimming and diving sophomore Jolie Cry will be heading back to the NCAA Women's Swimming and Diving Championships this weekend after qualifying in the 100-yard breaststroke for the second year in a row. So good luck, Jolie. Let's bring it home. Bring home a championship. Why not?
Why not?
And we'll finally finish up with men's golf. They finished sixth today in the Johnny O Invitational in Georgia and will compete next Monday and Tuesday in the All-American Intercollegiate in Houston. So congrats to all the Bearcats wearing red and black out there. Keep doing your thing. Keep bringing home W's. And also shout out to that lacrosse team, man. Like 20-1, that gets you like that gets you our gold star of the week if you beat Xavier 20-1 in any sport. Doesn't matter.
Yes.
So shout out to y'all.
If you multiply Xavier's score by 20 in any sport, no matter what you're playing, you get many gold stars, but
That's
not
right.
gold star because this is a Sky house. Damn it. Sorry. Y'all are getting, these people are just going to be turning this off. They're getting rung by these springs. I need to get a different mic stand because it just loves to ring with that. I listened to this one and it was a little rough. Sorry, folks. That's all we've got for you this week. Wrapped it up in a nice, tidy hour. We are very, very excited for the outlook of the rest of the Bearcats season, which will continue when they beat Kansas, when they beat Baylor, when they beat the combination of K-State, Iowa State, or Texas. Probably not Texas because they suck. Horns down. And then they beat Houston. Then they will continue into the NCAA tournament. They will win 6 games, and they will win the national championship.
In my hometown of
Just
Phoenix,
do it.
Arizona.
Just go.
I would love
Just
that.
go. Send the Bearcats from the bubble to the big dance. Send them to the championship locker room. I don't know. We're all hyped. We're turned up. And who knows? We'll probably just lose to Kansas tomorrow, but we're not going to bring that energy.
Oh, come on. Come on.
It's a dub.
It's
a dub. It's a locked-in dub.
It's an easy dub. Come on.
It's an easy dub. You're right. Easy dub. Not
it's
even
a
an
must
easy
win.
dub. It is an E-Z. letter Z dub.
Easy button dub. Yeah, that's right.
Easy button. Yes. Staples easy button dub. That's what we've got. We are very excited for that. So keep checking out the Bearcats as they make their run through the Big 12 tourney. Super excited for that. And as always, if you're in Kansas City at the tournament, please check out our friends Charlie Hustle. I just realized I didn't click over to the Bearcat Sports Wrap-Up thing. Almost 100%. Almost got it this week, but didn't. Check them out. Check out the 1012 Network. Check out the variety of podcasts for different coverages of different sports from different schools. They've got it all. We are very happy to be part of the network and part of Charlie Hustle's wide family. So thank you for checking in this week. Go Bearcats. Get some dubs. Make a run. It's March, baby. Make a deep run. That's all we want. That's all you can ask for. Viva
La Cats.
Get that dub.